Getting sued sucks. Let me show you how to make sure it doesn't happen to you.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
This is the Virtual Real Estate Investor Podcast with Vincent Polisi. Buckle your seatbelt and prepare to learn how to legally make six figures investing in real estate with no money, no credit check, and nothing but a computer and internet connection. Learn how you too can begin generating buyers and sellers for free today, and why you're only 2 calls away from making a $10,000 or more payday while never leaving the comfort of your home. And now, your host, the virtual real estate investor, Vincent Polisi.
All right, Investor Nation, here we go. One of the biggest concerns that people have when getting started out in any business, but especially in real estate investing, is the concern over being sued. If you've never been sued, it's a very daunting and frightening experience. Unfortunately, as any professional investor will tell you, as any professional business person will tell you that has any years of experience in business, if you're doing enough deals, if you're doing enough business, and if you're successful enough, you're eventually going to end up in litigation. Not wishing it on you, it's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. So what smart investors do, what smart business people do, is everything they can to avoid litigation. So let me explain to you how it is I've been able to do all of the deals that I've done in real estate investing without ever getting sued once. I'm going to knock on wood as I say that. It's really very simple. I don't have time to play reindeer games with people. All of my contracts contain a waiver of liability and a hold harmless agreement. The reason for that is so that we can go ahead and ferret out any potential issues, concerns, etc. that somebody has up front. In other words, if you're not comfortable with me having a waiver of liability and a hold harmless agreement, I want to know why, and I want to know right now before we close the deal, because I don't have the time or energy to get involved in protracted and prolonged litigation. So if somebody has a concern of fraud, if they have a concern of anything, I want to know up front today before we do the deal, because if I don't get the waiver of liability and the hold harmless agreement, we're not going to do the deal. I'm going to walk away. It's just not worth it to me to have to deal with that kind of nonsense. Now, if you listen to the last podcast episode, you know I don't use attorneys 99.9% of the time. The reason that I don't use attorneys is because I got myself educated many, many years ago on exactly what the process was when dealing with this type of nonsense. If you've never been sued, when you get served, panic sets in. Let's be honest. Nobody wants to be sued. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what's going to happen. You have this instant fear of loss. You don't understand the process. Everything's completely overwhelming, and it's done that way by design. But relax. Let me show you how to avoid all of that.
Hey, what's up, investors? John Lee Dumas here, founder and host of Entrepreneur on Fire, awarded Best of iTunes 2013, and you're listening to the Virtual Real Estate Investor Podcast with my man, Vincent Polisi. Prepare to ignite.
You think I'm talking about breaking the law?
No, I'm just trying to figure out how far you want it bent.
As far as you can without breaking it.
So if you ask the average investor or business person, or you go see an attorney, the very first thing they're going to tell you as it relates to limiting liability or risk mitigation, doing what you can to avoid lawsuits, the very first thing that they will tell you, generally speaking, will be to make sure that you have an LLC, a limited liability company, or a corporation. The reason for this is because there is what is known as the corporate veil. And the corporate veil is designed to help protect your personal assets in the event of litigation. Here's the problem with that. While certainly having a corporation is fantastic, it does not insulate you from litigation, nor does it insulate you from anyone going after your personal assets, because the very first thing, and again, attorneys know this, the very first thing that the opposing attorney is going to do is make every effort to pierce the corporate veil. The way that they do that is by claiming fraud, because if there's fraud, they can get right through the corporate veil and come right after your personal assets directly. So the whole point of the corporation is somewhat moot, because if they can get to your personal assets anyway, and all they have to do is prove fraud, which typically isn't that hard to do, then it really doesn't offer a whole lot of protection in the general sense. Personally, I like a get out of jail free card. I want to avoid the entire situation completely And in this particular case, the best defense is a great offense. And so offensively, I'm going to go on the offense and ensure up front from day one that I already have that get out of jail free card. And that comes in the form of the waiver of liability and hold harmless agreement, because if anybody wants to bring anything up down the road and try to drag me into court, the very first thing I'm going to do is pull that document out and show it to the judge and ask for dismissal. So yes, you should absolutely have a corporation or an LLC. That goes without saying. On top of that, though, in addition to doing deals legally and without fraud, obviously, I definitely suggest that you take it a step further and ensure that all of your documents have a waiver of liability and a hold harmless agreement, so you too can ferret out any potential lingering, nagging issues that may appear down the road that can just absolutely wreck your world. Trust me when I tell you, it's not pleasant getting served. Not something that you want to have to endure, and what you certainly don't want to have to endure is stroking that $5,000 check to the attorney that's then going to defend you in this litigation. And that's the first of very many when you get involved in litigation. So avoidance through preparation up front is absolutely unquestionably the very best offense and defense against worrying about potential litigation down the road. And let me tell you, it's a big, big concern that most investors have, especially new investors who don't really know what they're doing yet, who don't know all the ins and outs of the laws and the booby traps and landmines to watch out for. Much better to be prepared up front, because you have to ask yourself a question. Somebody says that you've done something illegal in a deal. They go to an attorney, and the attorney takes a look at the waiver of liability and hold harmless agreement. Unless you've committed some sort of truly heinous fraud, what do you think the likelihood is that they're going to want to pursue that in litigation and prosecute that? Well, the attorney probably will, because they want to get paid regardless. But from a standpoint of the ability to win that case with that document out front, probably not going to happen. Now, some of you may be thinking, but Vincent, what if they won't sign the waiver of liability and hold harmless agreement? And I can only tell you from personal experience, in the last 8 years, I've never once had anybody balk at those clauses in the agreement, because these are real estate deals. They get something. They get a house. They get to sell a house. They get something. There's not a great deal of complexity in these transactions. And it's my way or the highway. You've got to be the exact same way. You can't be afraid to lose a deal over protecting yourself from potential litigation down the road. Now, I'll cover in another episode exactly what to do in the event that you do get served and or sued, if you get a demand letter, so you understand exactly what that process is and how it works, because it can be frightening as well. If you've been enjoying this podcast and get anything of value out of it, I'd ask you to take 30 seconds and do me a quick, huge favor. Got about 4.5 weeks left in New and Noteworthy in iTunes, so we want to maximize that. And the way that we do that and getting as much exposure as possible is through your subscribes, downloads, 5-star ratings, and reviews. Once you've done that, be sure to go to virtualrealestateinvestor.org/podcast reviews. Fill out the quick form, and we'll schedule a free 30-minute coaching call with you to help get you kickstarted and moving forward in your virtual real estate investing career, so you can be making money from anywhere.
Thank you for listening to the Virtual Real Estate Investor Podcast with Vincent Polisi. If you found any value in this podcast, please use our Give to Get method and take a moment to give us a 5-star rating in iTunes and your favorite podcast service, so we can keep giving you excellent episodes of real content you can use to profit today.